Hi, and welcome to this edition of Tech Clarity TV. My name's Jim Brown, President of Tech Clarity, where we make the business value of technology clear. Today I'd like to talk to you about a no-nonsense approach to managing Multi-CAD. We've written a couple of reports recently. The first was really focused on understanding the very basics of what it takes to work in a CAD environment without a lot of the pitfalls that companies run into in an unmanaged or a manually managed CAD environment. Things like people not knowing which is the right revision of a file, sharing the wrong thing potentially actually with the supplier or manufacturing and creating scrap and rework, but also overwriting each other's work. There are lots of problems that companies run into, but at the same time we find that formal data management systems, PDM and PLM, sometimes are out of reach for these companies. So we try to understand what are the key needs, the real basics that are required to get by. And what we found is that there are really three key areas that companies need to be able to focus on. These are control, access, and share. And through the interviews of this paper and our survey research before, we found that if companies can do this, they can avoid a lot of those pitfalls. Controlling is really about making sure that data is centralized, that it's protected both from inappropriate use but also from loss because it's on a shared drive somewhere, for example, and can't be retrieved. And also making sure that everybody knows what the current file is and making sure we're not doing things like overwriting each other's work. Access really is about making sure that designers and engineers can get the information that they need to pull up a file, to be able to quickly find it, to use it, and to make sure that they've got what they need. And then sharing really is about extending that beyond the design team to whether it's downstream to manufacturing or out to suppliers or to customers, but really going beyond the core design team to those that typically are not CAD savvy. So we took that framework of control, access, and share and looked at the individual requirements for each of those to create a checklist for companies to go out and try and find solutions that maybe have lower overhead, typically are cloud-based, but they still meet the basics, because there are lots of other file sharing capabilities coming up on the web today, but they really aren't appropriate for use in design and engineering. So this really is a way to differentiate between those. And again, that control, access, share paradigm has been very helpful as a way to evaluate each of those different needs. So recently we've been thinking, though, what does Multi-CAD do to that? And the first thing to say is that nobody chooses Multi-CAD. Multi-CAD isn't something somebody sits down and decides, wow, I would love to be in a Multi-CAD environment. There are customer mandates where they demand deliverables in a certain format. Oftentimes companies come together through mergers and acquisitions, and each different group brings a different tool. Sometimes we have just different tools for different jobs. Maybe we've got manufacturing engineering using one tool, we've got design engineering using another. Sometimes it's the difference between conceptual design and detailed mechanical design. We've got a couple of different tools. Even things like electrical design clearly are going to be in different tools. So there's lots of need to have multiple CAD systems, but we also need to be able to pull those into a single context to make good engineering decisions. We also see other types of 3D data coming online as well. For example, point clouds coming in from reality capture, like laser scanning, 3D laser scanning. So we wrote another report and did some more research, talked to a few more companies to really understand what are the implications of Multi-CAD on this control, access, share idea, and were there any new requirements that needed to be addressed? And not surprisingly, there were. One of the things we saw around control was translating files, the ability to quickly bring a file in a non-native format and use it in a different format, whether that's through translating to a neutral format typically, and creating what some might call a dumb solid. But also we saw the need to be able to then manage relationships. So we may maintain that native file for future use or for audit, even though we've got say an IGES file that we're using in our day-to-day work. And it's also important from a control perspective to have integration to the different CAD systems to make sure that we're doing things like extracting metadata as appropriate. Along the access lines, what we saw is the ability to really be able to pull in information and manage it regardless of a CAD system, and really to be able to work in context and design in context. Whether that means bringing in an assembly where part of it may be a neutral format or a different format than we're used to. The last area is around sharing, and that's really where we start to, again, get beyond the design team. And what we see there is the needs for visualization go way up. Typically, people don't have CAD licenses. They certainly are not going to have multiple CAD licenses. So being able to view things in a browser becomes much more important. But not just viewing, also collaborating and being able to provide feedback, and being able to do that looking at designs that may be coming in a variety of different formats and different standards. So with that, I'm going to end with just a couple of key takeaways. The first report, our key finding from that was that there are cloud-based solutions that are available today that are viable, that really are worth a look for those that really the formal systems are out of reach for them. And with this ebook just out now, we've really extended that and really shown that it's a viable approach as well, to go and look at these simpler cloud-based solutions to see if they fit the bill, and will really allow companies to get in and get out of an unmanaged environment without the overhead of some of the very formal systems. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Tech Clarity TV. We'd love for you to subscribe, and we'd love to stay in touch with you via social media or any of these other ways. Thanks, and have a great day.